I just found a bug, I think. Buy item. Move over here. Let's see if we can find it, if it actually is a bug. Not filled is the first slot. Yay, see the first slot, but the 0 slot is filled. So now if we buy an item, it will replace it. Bug, yay. So what we really want to do is we really want to say, well, not filled dot add. We want to say, hey, if our inventory of old item dot item texture is equal to null, then if our entry of new item ID the item texture is equal to null, and essentially just gonna go, hey, well if these happen, then we want to go, well, field to add. We're just basically going to go, hey, well we want to add old item ID, and then we're going to do the same with new item ID. Then we add it up. There we go. And now we'll check if the bug is gone. I just solved that just then, and I think I fixed it. And it works, I think. Nope, the first slot is filled up. No, all the slots are filled up. This should work. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we're going to remove that, and I will expand this in a second. Not filled dot move new item ID. So this is the great powers of lists. Not only can we remove certain indexes, we can actually just remove certain parts. So we can say remove the number 3, and it will go for every one and go, okay, we're going to remove the number 3 from every single one. So if there's 30 exists, it won't touch that. But if there's 3 different sets of 3s, like 0 is equal to 3, 3 is equal to 3, and 6 is equal to 3, then it will move those. And then it should organize it. So this should now work, because the problem was it wasn't deleting it. But at least it showed. So if we look here, we find there's 4. The first slot's open. And now we find that the first stop is closed. See, it works. Yay! Be happy. So I will go then our new series. I need to get my post-it notes somewhere. I think I lost them. Now this is simple. We're just going for our inventory length. Oh, okay. We'll finish off this. Oh, we can rush. No, we can't rush through it. So, we're just going to finish off this one, and then we'll keep going. So we're going for all our item panels, which is all our UI. Oh no, we have to go here. So going through our items, and we're saying if item texture is not equal to null, so that's you actually have an item texture. So that's the reason we're using item textures, because remember you can't compare classes. You can't say whether or not a class item. And since item is a class, we can't say whether or not the item class is equal to null. So we just use a texture, since we conclude that all items, if they really are an item, they will include a texture. That is real texture. So here we're going item tree, and we're saying, hey, it's active. We're saying that item is now active, and we're essentially calling our own update. So we're doing, so each of those items will have like their own little update. So it's not a great way to do it, but I can't access the thread to add it. I believe I can't. It'd be cool if I could, but it's probably not good enough, because I would have to have a weird checking variable, but that's fine. This is what happens when you build like have a non-custom engine like this. Unity's quite general. Sure, if you had a custom, you could do it, and I don't think there would be too much difference. But here, obviously, we're just going through each one, and we're saying, hey, the UI, this is the displaying. This is what we display. Remember, this is only for display purposes. Is never change the variables of current item, and we're just saying it's constantly equal to our code. So as you see what we're saying, we're telling it all the variables. This is the press system. I don't want to cover it now because it comes under item data. But we cover it after, well, we go quickly for item data. This is to display and for functions. To display the current item. This is just basically, I'll explain this in a second, but it's just to say basically what item. So as you see, I'm going to kind of rush through this a bit, sorry. Inventory, as you see, each one of these has their own item data, and each one of these will have their own ID at the start of the thing. So if I look at this, I run, you'll see this current press, ID goes up, and essentially just states, just a copy of the ID, God damn it. Sprite holder, just holding all the images. Simple way so we can access it, change the colors and stuff. Sprites, yeah, this is literally the object itself for these slots and stuff. The ID, I don't know if we ever change sprites. Yeah, we do, when we select it. Enter ID. Just the ID of the object, what item slot it should display. These are just setting variables. Get command children, set to -1 because we don't want it to be 0. And then we're saying how our ID is equal to our name, and we're saying a substring of the only first character. So how substrings work is that we get a string and we split it up. And what we're saying is we're saying what letter character, what number character do you want to start with, and we're saying we want to start on the first character. So the first letter or the first whatever. And the first character is called, and we want to go for one character. So we want to start the first letter, and we want to go for one letter. Or it's called character just because it's update function every second. Obviously, we're checking whether or not the game object is in hierarchy, so that literally it's turned on, and it's turned on, and the active key does not equal nothing. Then we want to make the text. This should be in here. I thought I changed it, but obviously I haven't. I definitely did change that mess up we're done. I don't really like this though. I think I was going to change this at one point. But guys, we're saying, well, the active key, essentially we're just saying whether or not the active key is there. So if you have a key, then we're going to display the key. So it says QWER, guys. If you have a cooldown, then we're going to display the cooldown. Cooldown, you go, well, if you have a key, won't you always be displaying cooldown? Yes, but sometimes some abilities may be passive, but may still have a cooldown. Or you may wish to use the cooldown for something else. Remember that this cooldown will use decimal, but it will only, if you only have one number, it won't do 5.0, it'll just do 5. So it means you can use it for charges, you can use it for so many different things. You don't need to just use it for cooldown. Remember that. There will be another thing coming through that will be kind of, using for your own purposes. So current item texture. Simple. We're saying whether or not it actually has item texture. If it doesn't, then we're just going to say you're not active anymore. Just so we don't have a white square like we have there. See the white squares? Yeah. So we will turn them off on runtime. Else we turn them on and we say the texture is equal to our current item texture. See what we're saying here? We're just displaying things, we're not changing it. If you press the item, we're just saying you activate. Right? You activated, right? Which is essentially just a way to say you pressed it. Activate is not used for anything else but for pressing. Select. Then if the color does not equal gray, so it's not been selected before, and the current press is -1, so that's it's not been selected before, then it's going to be the color is gray and the ID is equal to, the current press is equal to ID. So we just change the gray, and then we're going to say, hey, inventory manager, this item was pressed. So this is only used for switching items around, so for the change items. Yeah, here we go. And then we're going to go, okay. Else, then we're just going to move it. And then this little move function is just because when we sell item, we actually go through each one, and especially when we do here, we're actually going to move them. And the problem is that we don't want to try to remove again it. So it's just the easiest way just to basically change it to white. Right, here we go. Change it to white and change the color press to -1. Move, as I said, this is what this does. Oh, oops, it is. Oh, it just made it shorter. Select 2, very simple. If the sprite's color does not go grey, then it's going to be good to grey, else it'll be to white. That's just a way so you can select it. I don't know. Oh, it's useful for shop system. Because as you see here, we've got copies. See these copies here? These are actually IM data instead of being shop data due to how we're doing it. We don't want them to be like little shop data that you buy. We just want them to be displaying and you can sell them. So this is for sell functionality. And when you press the sell button, it will go through each item and call the sell function. This will be more demonstrated in this shop system, but yeah, it'll just like sell the item and we'll change the gray. Okay, here. If you have more than 2 presses, or you have 2 presses, you should never have more than 2 presses since this should run at 2 presses, but I don't know, maybe. Then what we're doing is we're saying, or the first press and the second press, we're going to switch. The first thing you press must be the old one, where you're beginning, and the second one you press must be the one where you're ending. It doesn't really matter which order you do them in, but it just makes sense that way. So old, new, then we're going to clear them, and then we're just going to remove. Very, very simple. Nothing else. We are probably going to split this up into 15 minutes parts. I was like 24 minutes. I was like, do I do this or not? I was like, it's still a bit long. We might as well just split up into 15-minute parts. Oh, probably 20-minute parts. We got item texture. What we display. Item ID. It's a unique item ID. For example, I'll show you. How we used to use new item? Yeah. So these aren't displayed properly, but yeah, so we look at it and we'll go, well, we need item texture, which is here, and we can actually use the resources folder to display the texture, because remember we can't drag and drop. Item ID is equal to 1 because it's the second item, because test item is the first, and empty item obviously is -1. Name is equal to new item, which should be that's gonna be the name that people can search for on shops and stuff like that. And then item stats, the stats that this item gives you, which are essentially right here. This is just a way so we can actually add like the total number stats, so we 0 across the board, but you don't need to do it this way. You can just simply just do this. Is active. No, is active basically should be false. You just want to make sure you might ensure old active is active. That's basically to say whether or not you're doing the effects or not. The reason why you want to say it's false is because only when you're adding it to your inventory are you going to be doing the effects. Inventory ID, very, very simple. What slot is in? Active key, whether there is a key. This one does? Yes, it does. It's got Q. The cooldown and max cooldown. Cooldown 0, max cooldown 5. So it means cooldown is essentially just going to be used, say what the current cooldown is, and you can also use it, for example, when you maybe, let's say as soon as you get that ability, it has a 3-second cooldown. So before you can use it for the first time or whatever, for example, maybe a certain item, you want to say, well, for example, in LoL or League of Legends, there's thing called trinkets, which are like free vision, so like little sentries. And you can change your trinkets, but every time you change your trinket, there's a 60-second layover before you can use it, to prevent like abuse of just switching. And that's just what you do here. You just change this cooldown to 60, right? And that would start at 60. Then you'd have your max cooldown whatever you want. Just saying your cooldown can be as big as you want because it doesn't care. Recipe price. How much it is to go from the previous items to this item. So recipe price is 10. So how it works is test item is the first item. So like the first item to buy, and then you go from test item to mu item. So test item costs 10 by itself. Then mu item costs 10 plus its siblings, which is requirements. But I'll go into that in a second. So bought. Have we bought it or not? Not useful. We shouldn't be saying this to false, but we will under the shop system, which I'll show you later, set to true or false. Full price and final price are basically the same. Full price is just never going to change. But final price will change depending on whether or not you've bought the previous items, because that's how it makes it cheaper. Non-serialized, but this has to be non-serialized. If you don't have this non-serialized, it won't work. It will bunk. This has to be non-serialized, because otherwise it creates an endless loop, and the Unity doesn't like that. Build into. What items does this thing build into? And we say it's building into new item. We may not even need build into. I'll go into the next episode. Tooltip. What this displays. Activate. When you press it, it's activated. Build. What builds in, whether or not it actually builds into sign. Build into names. Requirements. Require and build are the same. Require is previous items it requires, which will up the price, and build is items that it will build into, which will lower the build into prices. Item name is just literally item name has to be what you called your script, because how we add items on the shop system is that we actually look at your item name and we create a new instance, and that way we don't need to somehow keep a secret database of them. No, it sounds confusing. That's how it works. Public item. This is constructor. As soon as this item's called, as soon as this item built, this happens. You probably want this, definitely. Alright. This is to set up all your variables. This is where you're setting all your variables, is under your constructor, as you can see here. And then you got a virtual void. Make sure this is virtual. Virtual allows I'm not happy with that description. Essentially what virtual says is virtuals can be overridden by overrides. See? It's used to override a method, a property, an indexer, or event. So right now we're overriding a method, and I believe you have to have it in virtual. Yeah, you do. So virtual will be used if there is no override. So if there's no override, then we're just going to do nothing, right? Otherwise we'll do the override, which is here. This is pretty darn good example, I'd say. So is this. They're both pretty darn good. I believe the exact same. Yeah, they are. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, you need basically this bit here. All of it, yeah. So we're saying whether or not they're different. So you've changed one of them. For example, now the item's active and it wasn't before, or now it's not active and it was active before. So then we switch them if it was, and if it wasn't active but now it is active, that's true. That we're going to add all the effects. This is obviously where you change it to what you want. But you do need this little bit here, which is best to say, well, now we're going to reset, so it won't keep doing that over and over again. This is to prevent it constantly adding the effects or constantly removing the effects. And if it's false, then it will remove the effects. Obviously, you can change this to whatever you want. Cooldown. Cooldown's greater than 0. Then we're going to remove it. We don't care how big the cooldown is. You can set it to 10 trillion, and it will just slowly count down. Activate. This is essentially if you press it or if you press the key. Then remember, this is us. This is not all items come with this. Not all like the default items. We have to build this ourselves. The user who makes the item has to build this. So this means they can optimize it however much they like. So if the ability is less than or equal to 0, then we're going to say we pressed it, and we're going to set the cooldown, and we're going to say it's activate is equal to false, and then else we're just going to say it's activate is equal to false. The reason we want to say else is activate is equal to false is because if you press it, what will happen is activate will now go into true. For example, if you press, like, if you click it, and then activate would stay true. Constantly stay true until the cooldown. And since the cooldown goes 0, it will instantly activate it. And, you know, there's no waiting to it. You can just press it. It's like you're just pressing your ult in, like, League of Legends and then just doing whatever. Then eventually, as soon as the ult ticks out, it'll do it. You know, it's a really annoying thing or really overused. On that, yeah, so you need the else and you need this here, but that's basically it. You've figured out how to build an item system. scar changes. So let me know what you think, whether or not you like this video, whether or not you like this kind of slow style where I kind of did drawings and stuff, whether or not you like the fast one. I'd really appreciate all feedback. And obviously, if you don't like something about this video, please comment about it. Don't just throw a dislike. I mean, dislike the video if you don't like it, but obviously, say comment, why don't you like it? If it's just because you don't like it, then I guess just say that. But obviously all criticism is welcomed, if I can speak. Anyway, thanks guys, see you next time.